back. I'm Dr. Cheek and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. And today we're going to talk about something that's been heavy in the news lately, news cycles, heavy on media outlets, is heavy on a lot of platforms, is being able to talk about the situation and the recent lawsuits that Diddy has faced. And we're going to talk about it in the realm of mental health because inevitably the conversation around mental health will come up. And there are different reasons why people want to focus on mental health when we think about people who have either been accused or convicted of doing like atrocious things to others, because we want to figure out like what would cause someone to behave that way. And also for some of us, we want to have this idea of if I know what it is, and as long as I don't have that, then I should be okay. But that may not be the case, especially with this particular incident, which is this idea of the way he behaved towards other people and the way he treated other people may not be a true reflection of a mental illness. It may be something different. And we're going to talk about that today. So we're going to talk about it in the realm of power and the role that power plays in our ability to behave or engage with other people. And we're going to talk about it in terms of power and psychopathy. And there are a lot of studies that look at the connection between leadership and psychopathy. So with that being said, I'm not just talking about Diddy. I'm talking about Diddy. I'm talking about Harvey Weinstein. I'm talking about people like Jeff Epstein. I'm talking about R. Kelly. All of those individuals and what they may have in common that leads them to behave in problematic and scary ways, like very unhealthy, hurtful, and harmful ways towards other people. And what that may be, is that a mental illness or is that something different? So we tend to look at leadership as this position that is either devoid or shouldn't include or shouldn't have emotions involved. And we sometimes look at emotions in a black and white way of thinking. So we either feel like you either don't have emotions because you either don't show them or you don't talk about them, or all you do is talk about your emotions. But there is a gray area there. There is an area where individuals are emotionally intelligent, tapped into their emotions, understand their emotions, and are able to regulate their emotions, but know how to manage them in a way that they don't allow their emotions to dictate or control how they behave. So that's the gray area. But when we talk about leadership, and when I'm talking about these studies, there are several studies out there that goes back decades that have looked at the correlation between leadership and psychopathology. So two caveats to these studies is one, they are looking at leaders in a corporate setting. So they're looking at your CEOs, your CFOs, your COOs, your chief level leaderships, your VPs, your directors, those individuals. And most of the times the studies are doing like personality evaluations on these individuals and getting information from like subordinates or coworkers to talk about their effectiveness. Second caveat is I'm almost certain that most music moguls or film moguls or these really powerful people aren't really receptive or are going to be open to doing a personality assessment. And that may be why most of these studies focus on the corporate leadership level, because most corporations have like leadership training programs and those personality assessments are part of that process. So this is where they're finding that correlation between leadership and psychopathy. And leadership typically just someone who has the power to hire, fire, and dictate what somebody else's job is. And these studies look at several things. So they look at whether having psychopathic tendencies or psychopathic traits increases your likelihood of becoming a leader, or if it makes you an effective leader, and what are some things that may mitigate like the problematic aspects of having psychopathy. So if we think about some of these studies, what they do find is they find a correlation between positive psychopathic traits. And you're probably looking at the screen right now saying, Dr. Cheek, what is a positive psychopathic trait? So those positive psychopathic traits are those traits such as charisma, charming, confident, assertive, assured of themselves, a people person, like the person that is the center of attention, the person that everyone wants to be around. Those are traits that are present in those who have psychopathic traits or in a person who may have psychopathy. So they found a positive correlation between someone who has those positive psychopathic traits and their ability to emerge as a leader in an environment. But they also have found that there is a negative connection or a negative correlation correlation between people who have those negative psychopathic traits. And those negative psychopathic traits are manipulation, deceit, lack of empathy, coercive behaviors, impulsivity, a lack of adherence to social norms. So those are what we consider the negative psychopathic traits. So what they did find is that leaders who have those types of psychopathic traits tend to be less effective in leadership roles. And one study that I was able to find looked at emotional intelligence as something that can limit the more negative psychopathic traits in a leadership environment to allow leaders to be more effective. And emotional intelligence, again, is the ability to perceive, acknowledge, regulate, and manage your emotions and to understand the emotions of others. So having that ability or having that level of intelligence allows you to be more effective leaders because now they can mitigate or lessen those negative psychopathic traits. So when we're talking about people like Diddy or like R. Kelly or like Harvey Weinstein or Jeffrey Epstein, when we're talking about people like this, they have power. They generally have unchecked power. They have the ability to have legal representation that is top notch. They have the ability to pay off certain individuals when they don't want things to come out into the general public. They have the ability to have people around them that are willing to take the fall, are willing to do for them whatever they're needing. And they also have the ability to make or break certain people's careers. So they have a power over other individuals, but it's how they utilize that power, which is problematic. Now, am I saying that all of these individuals are psychopaths? No, I'm not saying that because one, I've never met either of these people in person, and two, I've never had the opportunity to evaluate or assess either one of them. No, I'm not saying any of these people have psychopathic personality traits. I am simply saying that some of the behavior that they're displaying, it's indicative of somebody who's been given power, who's learned to behave in what looks like a psychopathic manner because of that power that they've been given. We all know that saying is power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So there is no diagnosis for psychopathic personality. That used to be a diagnosis some years ago, but that changed. But some of these traits can be found in individuals with antisocial personality disorders, individuals with narcissistic personality disorders. They can be found in individuals with histrionic personality disorder. And some of these traits can be found in individuals with schizotypal or schizoaffective disorder. So I want to be clear that I'm not saying that either one of these individuals have a personality disorder, and I'm not saying that they have mental illness at all. What I am saying is that all of them are displaying traits that can be found in those who have psychopathic tendencies or psychopathic traits. That's what I am saying. But I also want to say above all else is that having a mental illness does not automatically equate to you being violent or hurtful or harmful to anyone else. Many studies have shown that having a mental illness does not equate to violence. So what I want you to ask yourself is this: what would you do with unchecked power? What would you do if no one else was watching and you didn't have to be accountable for your behaviors, but everybody is watching? That is basically what unchecked power is. It's the ability to do what you want to do in broad daylight, in public, without having to be accountable for years from now. What would you do with that power? Would you make sure that the people around you are taken care of and no one is getting hurt? Would you get back at those who hurt you? Would you want to be able to take advantage and maintain that power so you do whatever you do to keep that power? You hurt whoever you need to hurt. You step on whoever you need to step on to maintain that power. What would you do if you had complete and utter unchecked power? That's the question. And that'll let you know if you have the ability to behave in a similar manner given those same circumstances, because all of these individuals had limitless power until they didn't. So ask yourself that question genuinely. Again, takeaway from this video is that there is a connection or a correlation between becoming a leader and having those positive psychopathic traits. But there is also a correlation between not being an effective leader and having those negative psychopathic traits. I don't know these people personally, but they seem to demonstrate some behaviors that seems to be in line with the psychopathic personality traits. Again, I hope you've learned something from this video today. I hope that it has been helpful for you. As always, jot down any questions or comments you have below. I thank you for taking the time to listen, and I'll be seeing you again very soon. Thank you.